Today, I'm breaking down why rich kids often win before the game even begins. Let's get something straight. This isn't about talent, it's not about effort, and it's definitely not about who works harder. It's about starting position. In life, the starting line isn't equal, and pretending it is keeps people confused. I've seen one truth repeat itself over and over again: advantages compound. Let's break it down. 1. Capital advantage. Imagine you're running through mud. Every step sinks. Now imagine someone landing in a helicopter 200 meters ahead of you. Same race, different start. Capital is leverage. When you begin life with financial backing, family support, investment accounts, property, you're not surviving, you're strategizing. Meanwhile, someone without capital is focused on stability first: rent, bills, debt. Survival consumes energy, and energy is everything. Financial literacy. You're counting cash by hand. Someone else is tapping a screen and watching their money multiply. Financial literacy isn't about knowing what money is, it's about knowing what money does. Rich families teach investing early: assets, compounding, equity, risk management. Others are taught to save, but not necessarily to grow. Money either sits or it works. The difference shows up years later. Risk tolerance. You're walking across fire barefoot. They're jumping across with a safety net underneath. Risk feels different when failure doesn't destroy you. If you know you can fall and still have support, family, connections, backup capital, you move differently. You start businesses earlier. You invest earlier. You experiment earlier. When failure isn't fatal, innovation becomes easier. Network. You're knocking on doors. They're teleporting into private rooms. Access is invisible power. Internships, introductions, partnerships, funding. These opportunities often move through relationships, not resumes. It's not just who you know, it's who your family knows, and that shortens timelines dramatically. Assets versus salary. You're eating the eggs. They bought the chicken. A salary pays for life. Assets pay you back. Rich kids often grow up watching businesses, rental properties, stocks, ownership structures. They don't just aim for income, they aim for ownership, and ownership compounds. Time horizon. You're watching the clock tick minutes. They're flipping through decades. When survival isn't urgent, long-term thinking becomes natural. Investments held for 10 to 20 years outperform short-term reactions. Businesses built patiently dominate quick wins. Wealth isn't built in sprints, it's built in seasons. Education strategy. You're studying to pass exams. They're studying to build leverage. Education is either a credential or a tool. Some people learn to get hired. Others learn to acquire skills that give them negotiating power, ownership, and scalability. Same classroom, different intention. Fail fast. You fall and freeze. They fall and take notes. When failure is allowed, it becomes data. Entrepreneurial families often normalize risk. A failed startup isn't shame, it's experience. The faster you fail safely, the faster you learn. Tax and legal structures. You're fishing in the river. They redesigned the river. Taxes and legal systems are complex, but they're also strategic. Trusts, corporations, capital gains structures, estate planning, these tools preserve and multiply wealth. Without understanding structure, you work harder for less retention. Confidence cushion. You're walking a tightrope over emptiness. They're walking with a net below. Security breeds boldness. When basic needs are covered, mental bandwidth expands. You think bigger, move faster, negotiate harder. Confidence isn't always personality. Sometimes it's protection. Information gap. You're watching the movie unfold. They're in the control room. Private insights, early trend access, family business exposure, financial conversations at the dinner table. When you grow up hearing how deals are structured, your baseline knowledge starts higher. Identity. You think you're a player in the game. They believe they own the board. Identity shapes action. If you grow up around ownership, you expect to build things. If you grow up around employment, you aim to be hired. Neither is wrong, but the mindset drives decisions. Delayed gratification. You eat the cake today. They build the bakery. Wealth often requires patience, reinvesting profits, holding equity, compounding over time, sacrificing short-term comfort for long-term freedom. When you've seen generational wealth operate, waiting makes sense. Mentorship. You're navigating a maze alone. They have a drone mapping the exit. Mentors compress time. If your parents or close circle have already built wealth, you avoid beginner mistakes. You move with guidance. Trial and error becomes trial and optimized. Wealth systems. You're chasing money in the wind. They built the machine printing it. This is the biggest difference. Working hard earns income. Building systems create freedom. Businesses, investments, intellectual property, automation, these systems generate income without constant effort. The wealthy don't just earn, they engineer. Final message. Let's be honest, the game isn't equal. Some people are running, some are flying, some are designing the map. But here's the empowering truth. Starting behind doesn't mean staying behind. Understanding the system changes your strategy. Learning capital allocation changes your future. Building assets changes your trajectory. The goal isn't to complain about helicopters. The goal is to build one. Because once you understand how the game actually works, you stop playing small. And that's when everything changes.